I am the philosophical bachelor. Since the lockdown in Belgium, which first began in March, I've hosted a series of discussions that I call Pitoc, which stands for Philosophy in the Time of Corona, with my housemates. We have not recorded the earlier sessions, but we decided to record the latest one to share on the channel with the consent of my participants. And we have given ourselves funny little names of philosophers just for the purposes of masking our identities. Should it come back to haunt us in future, and so that we don't feel inhibited to make controversial statements as well. So please approach this video with a generous spirit and not a judgmental one, as in we are just playing around with the ideas to figure out our positions. And I hope you enjoy how we have actually managed to deal with the intuitions in a layman way that yet manages to capture the spirit of what the philosophers have already expressed previously. Thank you.
Let me explain what the thought experiment's about. There's this man called John Rawls. He's an American philosopher. I think in something like the 70s or the 80s, he wrote this book called The Theory of Justice. And he said that essentially he got these principles out. Okay, he actually managed to think of these principles. He said that basically if we have a group of people and they are behind what he called the veil of ignorance, they would make the rules that he wrote. Okay, he wrote these rules. He thinks that people who are behind this veil of ignorance will make the same rules. Basically, what this veil of ignorance is this. Let's say we are going to make a new society. I mean, like we are the committee to decide a new society, but we will have a veil where we will not know our position in the new society. So we are not going to know whether we are female or male. We're not going to know whether our parents are rich or poor, or whether we are what race we are going to be. But we know the general idea of how society is. Okay, like these general things we know, but we don't know our personal position. So how would we make the rules? Because let's say if you make a rule that favors the rich, let's say you say, the rich will get like lots of money from like the other people, and then you happen to be poor, then you are disadvantaged. So basically, since you do not know, how would you make these rules such that you would, what would you do, because you don't know where you are, right, in that society. So what would you do, actually? What principles would you want to put in place? And he came out finally with, let's say 3 principles. Actually, it's like 1 principle plus, the second principle has 2 parts, okay? So let's just think of this 3 principles. Finally, he actually did come up with what he thinks people would agree to. But so what would be interesting here, like what we are doing is, let's see in the way we talk about it, will we ever get to really what he thinks we will get to? So in a way, it's a real thought experiment. It's really interesting because we could think of completely different stuff, like, everybody should be given a sex doll or whatever, we could think like weird stuff like that, right? Or we could think that, whatever. So do you have some initial intuitions of like, what do you think you want? What principles you want in place in such a society? If you are recreating a brand new society.
So recreating in the sense there's no one else but
okay,
us.
Let's say now we have the chance to reform our society. So we can, let's say we say, okay, no more inheritance. Let's say we say, okay, we will not have inheritance in our new society. Then later on we will inflict this onto the people of the society.
No, so is there like an apocalypse or something and everyone dies and we're the last people living and we have to start society again? Is it that, or is everyone living and we're just reforming society? Like the principles of society.
Let's say you can form a new society. Let's say you own an island and you invite people to come to your ideal utopic island, where you have put these principles up such that you think that it is something that these people will also like, and that they will think is fair. Okay, his book is called The Theory of Justice. So he was actually talking about a just society and what he thinks a just society, if we had the chance to do it all over again, what would we do? What would we want it to look like? And of course, we start with principles. So it's not specifics, but it's like broad ideas of what would we want. For example, do we want equality? Do we want maybe men to be more powerful than women? Or do we want really sexist or really racist society? Would we want that? I'm of course throwing it in there just to give you an idea of what could be that we talk about. Yeah, like so do you have some like initial intuitions of what do you think?
For example, like the realistic position that we are leaving the Earth because we have completely destroyed this planet and we're going like to Mars and we are starting a new civilization.
Okay, yeah, maybe that could be
Like,
the scenario. Yeah.
For example, that the thing with the island that you said.
Yeah, maybe that's a good scenario as well. Your scenario.
I guess like if you were to like I'm taking this way too literally. Yeah, like this is. I mean, at least right now the contribution is not philosophical, so I'm taking it like literally. We're starting a new society.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Just go
so
ahead.
I guess our primary needs would be food and shelter, right? So if we were to start a new society, then we would need to account on a few. Not everyone's going to be producing food and fucking shelter for the whole time, right? So we need to account on a few certain group of people that are going to offer you food and shelter. So that everyone else, again, like we can agree that human knowledge is distributed. Like it's not that one person has all knowledge, right?
We don't know which knowledge, which skills you will have. We don't know like how smart you will be. I mean, as in the veil of ignorance, we don't know if we are going to be really smart or we're going to be like dumb. Or we're going to be like really good with our hands, or we are really like bad. We could be disabled as well. We could have no hands. We don't know that. So how will we do it?
Irrespective, I mean, it doesn't matter.
You still think that we need food producers. Agreed, we need food producers still.
No,
but who will be these food producers?
Right. So I'm saying that human knowledge will and always will be distributed. There's not going to be one person who is good at everything.
Oh yeah.
And not everyone is going to. So on average, if you take the average knowledge of all human beings, you could say it's one. But then you can have like one dude who's an economist who's going to take care of the economy, a person who's an engineer who's going to make the cars and transportation, and then there's so human knowledge is distributed.
Yes.
If food is the first thing we need, we would need to rely on a certain people who have the skills and the knowledge necessary to gather food and gather shelter that's going to support the.
So should we pay these guys the most money since it's so crucial? I mean, we're gonna have to pay people to do the work, right? Should we give them the most? Because after all, as you said, they are really important, right? Or how will we pay them such that they want to?
Let's assume we have the money.
Yeah, let's just say there's a baseline of things. Yeah. So how are we gonna induce these people? Are we gonna force them? We can force them as well. We can be like, if you happen to be born with your name starting with the letter A, all these people have to do.
We cannot do that. That's how racism will
Okay,
be.
yeah. So how?
That's the thing. One thing that has to be done or changed is the fact that everyone will be treated equally, and there's no such thing as slaves or better or worse. Like this person is better than me.
Okay, so we're not gonna force anyone. So we're gonna what? How are we gonna?
No, it's genuinely it's a job.
But how will we try to induce them to take on this job?
Incentive, money.
So we pay them more. We pay them
Mostly
more.
money, yeah, and make the job a bit more fulfilling. Depends on.
But how about other jobs then? How about let's say with the food producer? How about the guys who produce newspapers in the society? Should we pay them more too for their skill? And then if we pay everybody more, then what does more mean?
It's paying more. It's paying what they're worth.
What they're worth, and how do we determine that?
It's they're working. How much work it requires? How much hours? How exhausting it is for them. Like all of those things, but the pay will need to be equal somewhat. Like of course, if you're in a job that's somewhat easy or it's not so exhausting and anyone can do, I don't think it should be a high pay. But each job depends on the work it requires.
So let's say a guy who lays bricks for the house. I mean, it's pretty hard work, right? And then a guy who, let's say, sits in an office and, allocates buses, or something. I mean, so one is hard work, as in physically hard work.
Basically, yeah.
And then the other fella maybe is intellectual hard work. So are we going to say the one who works in the outdoors have to be paid more, or the one who sits in the office paid more, or should it be the same?
That's why we have but then I think they'll be somewhat close because both jobs are not I think, super demanding. I mean, I don't know. I never had such a thing. But like the bus guy that's in the office, you feel like, oh, he's in the office. It's AC on or whatever.
But what if he has to
But-
think very hard though? What if he to do this is
Yeah,
very
sure,
complicated
he
and he
can-
needs to like 10 years of
Yeah,
education
and
first
he's necessary
Mm.
for our society to move smoothly. So he's important.
Oh, how about an
Just
artist?
as more important as.
Would you think an artist is important? I mean, like, you know, this guy allocates the buses, so yeah, his job, you know, otherwise we have no transport. Well, our transport's messed up. But what if I'll just go to another person, yeah. So what if I'll just go to another person so that, you know, yeah. What if how about someone like an artist, for example? I mean, what he provides. I mean, his works of art is not critical to the society, right? As in, you won't starve to death without art, but how should he be paid then? Since what he's doing is not a necessity product. I mean, whoever
I think it depends on how society looks at the thing that you're providing. I mean, if let's say from tomorrow on no one is interested in music anymore, yeah, sure. Then I mean, I don't think that musicians will be paid a lot or whatever. But I mean, obviously, we all like music and we all like movies, for example, and that's why they also get paid a lot, because it's something that, yeah, society really like. There's a demand from society for it. So I guess when there's a demand for something, that there's a lot of money to be earned.
But would you leave this new society that we are creating? Would you do the same again, like the free market system? Would you want a market?
Honestly, what I feel is, even if society was to hit the reset button, everything that has happened until now, it's just gonna play again. That's honestly what I feel.
Why?
Because that's how it has worked and that's how it will work. Because I feel like we're gonna make the same mistakes again. We're gonna learn the same things again.
But why would we make the same mistakes? You have already lived. I mean, you know, you already have some
because there was
experience of life, right? I mean,
and because in every step.
I mean, the veil of
No,
ignorance
but
doesn't mean you're a
again-
baby. Yeah, it doesn't mean you're a baby.
Alright. So I was thinking of hitting the reset button in the sense everything is reset. We're starting from scratch.
We
again.
erase all our memories.
Erase
you're
all
saying.
memory, and I feel like it would pan out the same way as it has.
Really, is it necessary though that we have come to this, like, you know, like dog eat dog society and
I think
really
so.
competitive?
I
You think it's a
so.
necessary
I think
thing?
so, because otherwise there are a lot of jobs. It's undeniable that there needs incentive for those jobs. Nobody wants to do certain jobs, but it has to be done. It is a necessity.
But in fact, isn't what our current society is actually the opposite? Like football players, I mean, they are not doing something necessary. They are paid a lot. While the cleaners who are doing something, I mean, you know, if no one's doing cleaning, then the streets are dirty, right? Pretty necessary. Or, you know, farmers or whatever, and they are paid not the same as football players.
I mean, I disagree.
So actually, we're doing the opposite, right? The
Not
necessary
necessarily.
jobs are paid low, actually.
What's
you know.
necessary?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a-
people, like I said, people are willing to pay
Right.
this money. Like the industry survives because people are willing to pay
Right,
this
right.
money. So in a way,
No,
you could argue
yeah.
that this is also necessary because people really, they want the football tickets. They want to go to to see the sport, you know, and they want their kids to play football as well. So I mean, if no one was thinking, yeah, it's necessary, then it would also not be.
Not necessary in the sense of like you need it to survive, because without,
Yeah, I
let's
get what
say,
you mean, but-
food, then we
Yeah.
perish. But we don't need football. I mean, if there's no football in the world, we're not gonna die. But like food, let's say there was no one like selling us. Let's say there was no one working in the supermarkets, right? I mean, you know, like exactly this crisis has kind of showed us
Who's
what
important?
is the essential work. They call it essential work, isn't it? Like what is actually essential and what is, you know, something that we don't necessarily need immediately. Like if let's say a haircut, I mean, even if we have longer hair, it wouldn't kill us. But if we have like no food, then we will starve to death. Let's say the pharmacist is essential, because if we can't get our heart attack medicines, then our heart medicines, then we might get a heart attack and die, you know. So we can see what, especially at this point, what is essential, what is not essential.
I
Right.
think also our thoughts, like we'll pay more for what we are willing or whatever, is more of it's really influenced by the society we live in now, because that's the only thing you know what I mean. Like your friends will go to the really cool artists, and you might not even know the artist, but you're gonna pay the ticket and go because you want to also be included. It's more than just I'm enjoying the artist. It's also there's some kind of peer pressure, and like buying brands or buying like all of those unnecessary things. They feel the need to buy them. So I think we cannot also fully, I mean, I don't know, but I believe none of us can fully imagine it without having the thoughts of what we have now. It's hard to imagine, like we won't care so much about like musicians or actors as much or blah blah. Because I mean, back then, actors, musicians, and all of those celebrities weren't paid as much as they are now, and they were great, and we got some great movies, like black and white movies. A lot of them weren't paid as much as they get paid now. You know what I mean? So it's not something that's yeah, I don't know.
So sorry, Erasmus, go ahead.
So what if for like jobs and all that stuff, like, you know, if we're finding a way to incentivize people to go for something, what if we had a system where instead of applying for the exact job you wanted, let's say we look at what field they're interested in, maybe not in field, but let's say you want to go for something intellectually stimulating, or you want to go for something that's more physical work. And I'm not saying that the category should be this broad, but let's say we actually have certain categories so that we actually throw, let's say, something like sanitation in it, with also, let's say, masonry or like building houses, but they're in the same category. And then you choose which category you want to go to. And then in the category, you're randomly allocated. Although I do want to say that the idea that I was like working with the job stuff is that the main incentive is that almost everyone, like all their needs and everything will be taken care of. It's not that one job is going to be paid like 20 times more than the other job. I wasn't thinking of a system like that. It's more that almost everyone will be paid for almost equally. All their needs will be taken care of. So in the end, you're going to pick which category of a job you want. And obviously, I don't think everyone will be picking sanitation, but if they pick that category, there is a chance they land in sanitation. And knowing that there is a chance, this is something they might take, you know? So it's not entirely tricking them and forcing them against their will, but it's also like gambling on which job you get.
Can I just riff on a theme there, right? You said that everyone is paid equally or almost equally.
Yeah.
Why almost equally? Why did you just say equally? I mean, what were you thinking of when you said almost
It's because
equally?
it's an idea I had not worked out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, by me saying that, I feel like that would actually spur on a completely different discussion. And I want to mainly focus on the job thing at the moment. Of creating an idea of how we could make sure that all this would...
Yeah, I should actually agree to that, because I think we should more strictly limit the discussion area. For example, like if we go with Tanaki's idea of erasing memories and stuff, and like reset buttons, it's a completely different discussion than the discussion of we as human people and the societies that we already know and the structure we already know go somewhere to start a new society. So
I think we should go with the latter. I think we should. I mean, because to erase our memories, I mean, you know, it's. I mean, it's not quite John Rawls' idea.
I mean, you pointed it out. I mean, it's not the ignorance of veil. I mean, the veil of ignorance is not that. Like when you say the veil of ignorance, you don't.
It's not like it's not like a newborn child who knows nothing. There is a certain, like, you sort of know how life is in general, but like you have a chance now to make a new society. So how would you do? You know what I thought was interesting was actually this idea that we would just have the same thing again. I thought that was actually kind of interesting. Or let's have the market system, because then if you're going to have the market system, then we don't need to make a new society. We just have our current society, you know, which means that we are very happy with the state of our current society, right? If we say that we don't even want to, what do you think, John Stuart Mill, like on this?
I mean, I think that we should have started like determining the moment in the history that we start, because we have done like two comparisons that is like, okay, it's really different if we think about like from the Industrial Revolution on or before, because actually the roles of the people change a lot, and that's the reason why like one artist can earn a lot of money now, but 200 years ago she or he didn't earn anything, you know, because it's like now we have a lot of food, we have. I mean, the food is not our. I mean, we know that we are gonna go to the supermarket and we are gonna get beers. We are gonna get fruit. We are gonna get meat. So that's not our worry. So for that reason, we pay less for that, and we pay a lot for watching football or watching MMA or watching a concert. So, but if we do the same reasoning like 200 years ago, the people who, like the farmers, okay, actually not because of the different roles of the medieval things, but they should earn more because your life depends totally on them, and they are few. But if imagine that they were a lot and the food was a lot also, yeah, they would also earn few, and we could move our resources to there. So I think that we should like establish which point we are thinking about.
But
because
but riffing on that, right? Like, so it's still using a market-based system.
No, and that's also like I mean, all of us we have talked about the market base. I don't know why, but we could also like talk about other things.
But
Like,
I agree to this point with first Nawal's opinion about since we have already been born in this structure in society, it is also very difficult to discuss about something else. So I believe we should go with a market-based society because this is what we know, and these are like our criteria at the moment.
But you're given a chance to reinvent everything. Would you want the market-based system? You're given a chance now to make a new system. We can, of course, continue with our old system.
It's another thing what I want. It's another thing what would work.
No, what would be good for this new society, though? I mean, you're given a chance now to make it. I mean, we could, of course, say, oh, we like it, so we want things to continue as they are. Or if we are having a chance, we could, imagine something completely different. I mean, it'd be interesting if we say, oh, yeah, we actually want this. Right? Because maybe we are beneficiaries of this system. So, but we remember, in this veil of ignorance, we are not going to know how what situation our circumstances are going to be once this veil of ignorance is lifted. So maybe in our current society, let's say a banker would do very well, but once this veil of ignorance is lifted, maybe we will be like a construction worker, for example. So do we think that a construction worker in this current state of affairs is going to have a good life? Would we? So if let's say I want to make the society, let's just go with a market-based system, even though I know my pay is going to suck. Will we do that?
But that's my point in the sense that imagine that we turn back, like, let's say with in the ages like 2,000 years ago, with Jesus Christ and all. Our goal would be like survive, and only like thinking about tomorrow. Probably like our grandparents thinking about tomorrow because they have to survive. But now it's not our problem, and our mentality and also my thinking is more like about, okay, if we are in the current years, it's more like, okay, we have to enjoy and we have to have like a more thinking life, like improving ourselves, improving the society. But that's not the case like 1,000 years ago. And 1,000 years ago, maybe like, I think that we should establish like a more authoritarian society, in the sense that you really need to keep the people improving the society and like mandatory, because we would need the food. So it's like you really need to order who has to do what. But no, it's not the case now, I think. So we should like establish which moment.
I do not think that it has to do that much of the historical moment, as it has to do with the demand of the era and the moment. Like, for example, when you start a new society, as we have already discussed, like the first things that you need is like to establish like the foundations of the new houses and the sanitation and these kind of things. So immediately, like even in this era that we live in with COVID, what we need is mostly like hospitals and nurses and stuff. So of course we're going to concentrate on that, and these people are going to be paid more according to the demands of the era. So it doesn't have to do that much of the changing like the historical moment, as much as thinking that, okay, that these are the things that we need now. And for example, as we mentioned before, that football and music and all these things, of course, are are important and are like healing our soul, but they're not like healing the needs, the existential like things that we need to solve, like survival, not existential, sorry, that we need to deal right now, for example.
How about we limit the parameters then, as in, yeah, from now. I mean, so we are not like guys from like 500 years ago. So I mean, but like today, we are given this opportunity to, we are being selected in this committee, where we are, we have this veil of ignorance somehow, and then we have the chance to make a new society, but like today, but in today's setting though. And then okay, the knowledge that you have of life, the only thing you don't know is your life circumstance. Like what you have, the knowledge that you generally have, not your IQ though, not your intelligence, but what you understand about life, and your suffering, and how human suffering in general, or how human flourishing in general is. You know these things, but you are not going to know your life circumstances. So meaning that let's say today you have you're able-bodied today, like then behind the veil of ignorance, then when it's lifted, somehow maybe you could be like disabled, for example, or maybe let's say today you're poor, and then somehow like after this veil of ignorance, you are put into this rich family, or you happen to be just rich now. So let that be the kind of parameters limiting it, and let's go from today's circumstances, like how things are today, and then okay, we go to a new planet, Mars, and we're gonna establish a colony there, or some island that we make. I think an island would be easier, because then we don't get caught up in the space thing. But I make an island, and then we're gonna put some rules for this island, and those people want to come and stay, can stay, and then we're gonna run our island in that way. Yeah, and then somehow we can isolate it from the rest of the world as well. Somehow we can really just isolate it, and then we will have enough resources to get going. Yeah, please, Erasmus.
So I don't know if I'm going on a tangent here, but from the thing I'd said before of creating like certain categories.
Categories of jobs, yeah. I like that idea. It's an interesting idea.
So the thing is, that would just be because I've been thinking more of it. It's for it to work initially is that everyone's needs and cares are taken care of, and people are almost paid the same or not. But like no matter which job you end up in, your all your other needs are going to be taken care of. So the job you're going to do is more for the need of society / maybe let's say getting a feeling of fulfillment, like that you're contributing something, that maybe you're actually doing something you're enjoying. But the idea would be in the sense that so there would be categories, and people can give a preference for what kind of category they would like to go to. But let's say starting from the age 18 or something, you take, let's say, an intellectual test or a physical test or not, and give a preference of your category, and then you'll be put into a job according to what you do on the test and according to what society needs at the moment, like how many job vacancies are available here and here. And then every 5 years you're given the opportunity of, do I want to change the job? Yes. And you'll go back into this testing / giving a preference thing. So maybe you'll be put into a new job, or if you decide you want to stay where you are, you'll be put there. So it's according to where you are as a person at that moment. Let's say those whole years you've been working out and your physical strength has increased, and you change, okay, I want to do something a bit more physically demanding. You can also put that in the test. So you can decide every 5 years whether you want to go somewhere different or stay where you are.
I want to. Yeah, sorry,
I
go
have
ahead.
a question for
go ahead.
Erasmus actually. So what kind of tests are you thinking of for the category?
I haven't thought that far yet, but I was mainly thinking that according to the jobs we need, it would be, let's say, it's not just like an IQ test, but it's also how you would, let's say they give a bunch of scenarios of that would fall under all these different categories, and how you would react, or what would you do in these situations, whatnot, and according to your, the actions you would take, then maybe also an intelligence test, because I'm assuming that if you want to partake in a category that requires real deep thinking for you to actually be, let's say, useful in a category, maybe you do have to show some intellectual standard, or in the physical category, even if you want to do a really physically demanding job, you have to show at least some physical attributes.
I mean,
I
it sounds like a great, it sounds like a very liberal idea, and it would be very nice for sure. But to me, it just seems like it's an inefficient allocation of resources. So when society is the one paying for, I'm sure it would be nice to have the free will to choose whatever you want to do at whatever age and whatever time. But again, would the society sustain? That would be the biggest question. Would it really sustain?
It's that free way of thinking, because I was actually concerned with the fact that so those people can do the preferences tests or whatever, but we're gonna choose what job they're gonna get. So there's a chance that they might get a job that they're not fully motivated for, which would affect our society so much because the individuals are not motivated.
I mean, my point is still, would this society sustain? That's my question.
Can I ask a question on, again, sorry for that, the general idea is that we are building this island and whoever wants to join joins, otherwise you are in the rest of the world, you continue like living in the world, or that we have to all of us build it. Because for me it's a huge difference. For example, because I can think of an ideal society, the society I would build and I would love to join, and I think it would be better than this one. But if we see it like realistically and pragmatically, the system we are now works maybe faulty, not maybe, for me faulty, but it works. For example, if you take like an engineer and a doctor now and you put them in a new world where they have to be paid equally with the others, they will be disappointed. They will not do their job as good as they did it before, or even like quit or whatever. So it's a difference to make them find like a middle ground there, and we're talking about that. Or if you don't want to join, you don't join, and we're just building our ideal society. And for me, it's a difference there.
I think in the actual I mean, well, John Rawls didn't go detail the whole thing in very great detail, okay? But I think the general idea is that basically, if we could make these principles, and then we all would agree, as in everyone would read these principles and agree that this is fair, and then we will all be willing to do this, which is of course unrealistic, because those who are currently disadvantaged or advantaged, and so on, they will have different views. But somehow, if we all had this veil of ignorance, if somehow we all didn't know our circumstances, then we all agree like this, because basically the whole point of the veil of ignorance is this, right? If we don't know, then you would want the thing to be as fair as possible to everyone, because otherwise it could be that, if I give a lot of advantage to people who are physically strong, and then I end up physically weak, then I'm the loser now. I've made myself the loser in this new society. But if I just say that, okay, be you physically strong or be you physically weak, that, so just to riff off what Erasmus had said, it's like he was thinking about how the basic needs are met. That's actually a very interesting point, and quite close to Rawls' intuition, that somehow we will have to guarantee these basic sets of rights plus, basic needs, which comes as part of your rights as well, that needs to be met. And to have as broad a list of these basic rights as possible. So, basically, if this was like the challenge, like a computer game, we were like, level 1, like, unfolded, because we mentioned that bit. Yeah, like, so level 1, what do you call it, in the computer game, like, opened up, like we managed to achieve the unlocked, level 1 unlocked, because, so this idea of the basic needs being met, I think that's actually interesting, because it could be that, some people actually, so the question on the basic needs, right? Let's say if you were, like, you don't want to work, you're lazy actually. Should they be entitled to the basic needs? Or should they be, if you refuse to work, then you should die maybe?
I mean, before I will discuss that, I wanted to mention, I think the system of Erasmus, it could work, but only if every job has like the same amount of effort and the same amount of stress level that you could receive from it. Because why would you do a job that is more, like, gives you more stress and it requires more effort while you can actually do something else that is giving you less stress and you have to do less effort, and still your basic needs are taken care of. I mean, you could say interest, but I mean, I'm not sure if that's really enough.
Actually, that wasn't really your idea, right? Your idea was more like we had the basic needs met, regardless of whether or not. Maybe even if you don't want to work, we'll still meet your basic needs. So everyone will have it. Be you like incapable to work, or maybe you just plain refuse to work, your basic needs will be met. So you have enough food. But then if you have like let's say your job is really difficult, then you may get more something, right? I mean, that was kind of
more what? There's no money. In this world.
No. Who said there's no money? There could be money. I mean, why would there be no money?
I don't think that was his idea.
I hadn't actually looked into the money aspect. I was thinking more of needs and everything is taken care of, and this is just more people choosing to do the jobs. Yeah, there's definitely interest involved, but because I don't want everyone to just choosing specifically what they wanted, I put in the category.
Yeah, I get it.
And then if you don't get into what you want, I also put the idea of
being able to change after a couple of years. Yeah,
exactly.
Go ahead. Yeah,
okay, so since we're talking about the veil of ignorance for every person, and that means that you do not know neither your sex nor your race nor whatever. So you do not actually also have memories and capabilities. So we are born, we are nothing, we are like babies, we do not have like a job, we are not experts at something. So we are going there to be experts at something. We are actually talking about the Chanakya's idea of resetting a button. We are all from zero. We do not know anything. I would agree with Erasmus's system then. Because in the perfect world we cannot have like exactly what we want, so we have to settle with something, and at least there is a fair like a fair like distribution, like at least you will be at the sector that you like, although it's not like exactly the ideal job for you, but it's like at the sector that you like. And I mean, even in real life, even if you have the capabilities, you may end up in a job that you don't like. So I think it's really fair, but we also should start with the basic ground of human rights, the whole foundation that Erasmus is like describing, that all of the all genders, all races, of course, are the same, and this veil of ignorance is not actually lifted for the society when this whole thing starts. So it's like you are actually a neutral person for the rest of the society as they behave to you, whatever like your sexual preferences or whatever. So yeah, if we take that into account and everyone like matters and we are all equal, the fact that you will like settle in a job that you maybe not your ideal, it's like a small sacrifice, since you will have like all the rest of the advantages as the rest want.
I think that we should start with that, and then it's like I think that we should start with like establishing the principles of our society, and then like try to find the system, like the economic system that would work with those principles that we have established. Because otherwise it's so complicated.
Yeah, sure.
Like to find a system.
Yeah.
Because I mean we have lived for I don't know in the last 2,000 years, and we have changed a lot of in a lot of moments our economic system. Even I don't really know in which system we are living now. Like a kind of mix between communism and capitalism.
It's pretty capitalistic, I guess. Yeah.
But it's like we don't even know, at least in my case, in which system we are living. So I think that it would be better like to establish the principles, like Marina was saying, and then move to the system, and it's like, oh, fuck, with this system, this principle is not going to be established. Or how could we enforce this principle? Yeah, it's like Marina was saying, like for sure the equality between the people, among the people. So it's like it doesn't matter your race or your sexual orientation or whatever, that all of us we should be equal for sure. And then like in the current world, like we should be able like to move, freely move from one place to another. Obviously, like respecting the people that they are living in one place, and also like now that we have the technology, yeah, like certain rights like such as food, house, electricity, water, like all of that we can actually like make it available now. Yeah, I think that should be together with many other things in our system, like ensure.
No, I just want to return to the point that Hipparchia made. I mean, where it's like basically you talked about fairness. So do we think that in this new society that fairness is important, that justice and fairness is important?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, we learned from the previous society that it's not good, it's not productive at all to have a group of people that are disadvantaged is worse for the society. As in, crimes could increase, this and that can increase. It's actually, it's one of the I think, in my opinion, stupidest of things, because you can really use up those people if they are treated well, and that's why I think. Another principle would be it can't be like a big gap between the rich and the poor, like that wouldn't work. Otherwise it turns into what we have now, where we have a lot of countries that can be poor or whatever, and other countries are very rich, and even in those each of those countries there's really rich and there's really poor. To me that doesn't make sense. Another thing is the exploitation. I think the not being fully treated equally, whatever, came mainly from exploitation. That I can use you up, or you know. So to me, your worth is not that. You're not that worthy anymore. But my people are worthy, like more worthy than you. I think those are like one of the two main things that can change the society completely, because you're making sure every single person, no matter what they are a part of the society. They can contribute, they can add to it, instead of having, let's say, 30 or 20% of the people just messing things up, like making it worse. And honestly, that is your fault, because you weren't able to, how to handle.
Yeah, I think the important thing is like to destroy ghettos, like the groups of people.
Poor and rich areas.
Exactly. Like this distinction between even like from gender, from race, from for money, for whatever. If you stop like this distinction, I think that this is like the basis of solving like the problems. Yeah.
So just to be built on John Stuart Mill's point, is that so in fact John Rawls' idea is that to start from a set of principles that everyone can agree to because it's reasonable and fair, and then from there, as you said, like what comes after would have to follow this principle. So whatever system that we decide to institute, I mean, these principles we have registered to be really, really critical. I mean, so that's in Rawls's intuition, and this point that Nawal and Hipparchia has made, it's such a difficult name, that has made on a like a kind of equality, and then how we're gonna talk about this equality issue. I think we should really think about that next, as in like as a big theme. We should discuss this theme of equality. But Sadika wants to add something.
Yeah, I want to say, I don't think that like the concept of equality, fairness, and justice is really the problem. I mean, I think we can all agree that these are concepts we should implement in our society. But I think the real question is, how will you determine fairness in your society? Because fairness is for a lot of people like different. I mean, for example, fairness would not be for me that everyone earns the exact same wage.
Okay.
To me, that's not what fairness is about. For me, fairness is about that everyone gets the same opportunity to reach a certain point. So regardless of
Equity.
Yeah, so regardless of where you come from or what you look like or who you are, you should have the same chance as someone else to reach like a high level, you know. And but the fact that there are different levels in wage, for example, I don't see that as unfair, like unfairness in society. But I mean, I guess that some people do see that as unfair. So that's,
for me, it's the big gap. Not a gap, like not just a gap, but a big gap. You know, when you have someone earning in a year 5 or 10 million, and someone earning in a year 10 to 11,000 euros. That's the big gap. But not the thing. But he was still.
This one, I want to add maybe, like, for example, if you have like different salaries, as you suggest, maybe the ones that they earn more, as now I also say, after like some time, they also have to contribute though to the people that are less advantaged, like they do not have like the abilities that you do, and it's very good that you do, but also abilities are also kind of a way you are born with. Not necessarily that you have earned it, because if we all have the same possibilities, then the same like opportunities to go ahead, the ones that actually go ahead are just like the people that have they are more biologically advantaged in some things, not the ones that didn't have the opportunity. So since you are born this way, and not like you did something extra that the rest of us did, because we all fight like to survive and contribute in the society, maybe you should also like contribute to us. I mean, we have like less things that you may have, but you can contribute with some things, like buying like a small property, for example, or whatever.
Or higher taxes for that matter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like just distributive taxes. Yeah. Chanakia, you wanted to say something?
I lost my.
Okay. So interesting point. Yeah, is that we may be like unlocking level 2 and 3. Okay, so let me just read you what level 1 was. Okay, as I said here, John Rawls said that there are 2 principles. The first one, and then the second principle had 2 parts. Okay, so I'm gonna read you the first principle. The first principle is that each person is to have an equal right to the most extensive total system of basic liberties. And so these basic liberties are things like freedom of thought, freedom of association, freedom of consciousness, political liberties like the right to vote, and freedom to protect the integrity of the person, meaning the physical integrity. So stuff like that. So I think, we unlocked level 1, quite early on with this idea of equal rights that Erasmus had proposed. And the second principle, the first part, is actually the famous part of John Rawls' work. It's called the difference principle, where maybe we didn't actually Hipashia was getting very close to this idea. Okay, where the idea is that that even if there's inequality, that this inequality has to contribute to the greatest benefit of the least advantaged. So what it means is this, okay? So if let's say there are 2 people, like for this guy to become like richer, this person also needs to improve. So okay, let's say 2 people, yeah. The person A, if he is richer, and then because of his extra richness and all that, this person B also becomes like better off, then this inequality is allowed. So John Rawls is not advocating for a completely, like everybody has the same salary. I mean, he's not advocating.
Tax system is what he.
Well, redistributive tax could be one approach that we are familiar with, right? Because that's like the current system actually. Like in Belgium, for example, it's a steeply redistributive tax system. But this is the general idea that basically it's not like, this person just becoming all rich by himself and then the disadvantage just, remain equally, in a shitty situation. But this person extra, whatever he can get as extra, also must raise the shit for all the other people, but for this, at least least advantaged people. So that if this person can increase, let's say, like a double, and then this person maybe got 10%. But yeah, so long as this person keeps, the disadvantaged person keeps going up as well, then this inequality is permitted. that's he called it the difference principle, because he wants to allow for the possibility that some people have, you know, more capabilities and all that. But like as what Hypatia had said, is that there's a that could be that is the genetic lottery, right? I mean, like sometimes you're given more, greater capabilities and stuff, and it's not like, oh, because you were really so superior, you know, basically we want to not reward luck, but we also, because of the luck egalitarianism, we also need to to compensate for those who are disadvantaged. So those who were unlucky, we need to compensate them for their the luck of the draw, that because they were saddled with these disadvantages, we need to compensate them. Actually, that's part of the idea here, to raise the level. For the third, okay, that is actually 2B.
Let's unlock the third.
Yeah, actually, you guys have hinted at it, actually. Actually, Seneca hinted at it. So I think, let me just tell you what the 2B is the equal opportunity idea. So basically, he thinks that, okay, offices and positions are open to all under conditions of fair equality of opportunity. So essentially the idea is that, okay, everyone should have the chance to become president. Not that everyone can become president, because, you know, everyone has differing abilities, but it shouldn't be like, oh, just because you are, you know, of a particular race, that you are, you know, disbarred automatically from office. Or if you are, I mean, even for that matter, if let's say you are not born in this country, that you're automatically disbarred from being able to be president. For example, in the US, it's actually like part of the constitution that if you're not born in America, you cannot be the American president. You know, so it actually is, this is prejudicial to new immigrants, for example, that have come and then, you know, lived in America. I mean, it sounds interesting, right? We didn't know that, but that's exactly the case against Obama. Yeah. That's what they said, that, oh, you know, he was actually born in America, so he can't, you know, be the president. And so this equality of opportunity idea is that not because everyone is capable, but they should have at least the possibility of like getting those positions. Yeah. And I mean, basically he thinks that these principles, it's like, these are like the principles that will lead to a fair society. He's not thinking globally, he's thinking like within a closed society, which means that, you know, you don't have trading and all that kind of thing with international partners, but that these would then lay the foundation of what would then be, okay, how will we organize our economy and stuff? Because it can still be a market-based system, except that, you know, we always have to take care of the, you know, we have to try to lift the circumstances of like the poorer people or like the disabled people. And then like the idea of like having the equal rights would mean that, okay, even if you're disabled, that you will still have, freedom of movement is an important human right? So we need to make sure that, let's say, all our entrances to buildings have ramps, for example. Because if we had steps, then maybe a person who's on a wheelchair would not be able to access that building. So we have then denied that person of his basic rights. So because of the equality of rights, I mean, like having a basic package of rights for everyone, so we have to take care of like blind people, or make sure that they can also, you know, enjoy the whatever rights that we think everyone else should have access to. So for example, education also, then we have to, you know, have support systems for like the person who is blind, so that he can also then gain that education, and not just like, oh, you know, we have to read books, and so actually it just automatically disqualifies blind people from the get-go.
I think the key for the system to work is selflessness, which, okay, I know that people will argue that, I could also argue actually that maybe it's not even in the nature of the human nature to be selfless. But I think that if you build a foundation, a fair foundation, and you have also given attention to education, which is a very important part, to pass this ideology to the new generation, that you can actually create kind of way, like selfless people that actually understand the importance of not like just going ahead, but also dragging like the others with you. Because this is like the leader's attitude. Being like a society that actually gives birth to leaders. Like not just going ahead, but also that you have the burden of the other people behind you. So it is nothing for you to just be rich and have like many things if all the rest are just like in a disadvantaged position. It's even like even better for you if you have a good society and you are okay privileged in society because you have like some biological privileges or generally like you manage to go ahead. This is good for you. But if the whole society behind you has like a completely is a complete distraction, even your like try to go ahead has lost its point. Like there is no reason like to celebrate, to be like a king in an empty kingdom. You know what I mean? So
I think I completely agree with this because it's I mean it's even shown. It really depends on the people around you. If everyone around me is like this and like that, it's very rare that I become, not really selfless, or I'm only selfish. No, because the way I got up is by someone else helping me. So I wanna return not necessarily return the favor, but to me it nearly becomes like such a norm. Like that's how it should be. That's how it is, and that's why to me I feel like you can find I mean it's stereotypical, but in more Asian countries they can be more generous and stuff.
Communitarian.
Yeah, and it's because of the society they live in. If they are not, then it's odd, it's weird. But society would look at you differently, even if you're a selfish person. But if you don't say, oh, do you want this, do you want that, society will look at you differently compared to another societies that it values individualism more. Then it's different. So it's really how everyone in the society acts, and it doesn't even have to be every single person, but it's the majority acting that way. And education is very, very important because it's what feeds you, like it's what feeds it in you. It becomes in you.
And following Noah's opinion on that, it's also important because she stressed the majority of behaving that way. That is the tricky part for me. So what you are doing in the case of someone's not following the rest of the society, because this is, I believe, the most like obvious examples where society actually loses their ideology, and like even if you have structured everything fine, it's like this exception to the rule, the people that will bring like the anarchy to the system, that the way that you will handle them, that may actually destroy the whole system. So I think the most important is like to think about what we could do like with the people that are like, for example, too lazy to work, they commit crimes, of course, and they are the selfish element in a selfless society that we would like to build.
So you think that these undesirables may infect the rest of the system, and then like so should they be? How should we deal with them? Should we kill them? Like expel them from our society, maybe.
But what I'm saying is not that these people are the pollution to the system. I'm saying that the way we will handle them is the tricky part of the pollution. Right. So if you kill them, it's exactly what we shouldn't do, because
we will harm the system.
Yeah,
we will harm our entire society.
I don't think with this new society we would have such a problem as a big thing, because it's let's say it's unlike now. Now it's like I could be like, I'm drunk, whatever, I stole this bike, and everyone is looking at like it can be like a mini joke. It's a memory to remember or whatever. But in that new society, such a thing, people would not go like applaud for it. They would not. So it de-encourages those things of happening, and more crime is really when you're getting fair treatment of the necessities that you need in your life fulfilled. I think crime in general will decrease. So I don't even think it will be really like people.
I mean, the point is there will and always will be exceptions. I mean, it's not that it's gonna be a perfect society. Everyone's gonna be satisfied and happy.
Who's that?
It's like a cult.
Yeah, you the call.
Sorry.
Jesus
We still
Christ.
like to join.
Say the password next time.
We need a password.
We should text the password to the group chat.
But that was you were
Sorry.
police or something.
I'm not the police.
I was like, oh my god, for a second.
Yeah.
But like you're not like
You should
can,
have-
no one can hear you.
You
Like
know
it's
already.
super silent. Even like when you all talk.
I really thought we were gonna hear like politie Leuven, kunt u open als
Are you
I would
guys?
like to see where we would hide.
Wait, actually, are you guys really warm? Because I'm kind of warm, but I.
Pretty fucking warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna open the window. So explain to her what to do with this
Cool
name.
as a cucumber.
You should write a
Maybe we
philosopher's
can
name
pause, no?
that we're using like for this group
That's gonna be your name in the
conversation.
conversation because
Later,
We're bros.
But okay, so following
Yeah,
to
Kansas City is actually very nice.
Nawa's and Chanakia's
Wait,
point of
maybe-
view. Maybe we should actually
Just one
just
second
start from
because
the
of the
same.
noise. No.
We should
Can't?
second.
Okay.
I guess. I'm behind. Yeah.
So it's a very interesting point at the point of Nawa because there are people. I also believe that education is so important that actually can decrease a lot the criminality, but also. We go like to the unanswered question of whether you are born to be a murderer or become one. And I know that many people will say, of course, that you become one, and I am one of those people. But sometimes there is no exact reason for a bad action. Sometimes it is like a reflex or something that doesn't like actually connects to your logic. So I agree with Shanakia's point that there are always going to be exceptions to the rule, and this is also another point. For example, for police, if we actually need police or we just needed education, because I have also heard this point that if you just like have a fair system and a very good education, then you will not have criminality, and then you will not need either the police. It is also like a point that goes to that.
I think I mean the fact is that it need not even be crime. It could just be people who may have better ideas. They are mavericks, that just are maybe they have better ideas. They have like ideas to even improve our system, but because we got our system going, we want to like clamp that down, and which could be bad for our society actually. Because sometimes we need people who are different in the ways they think about stuff, right? So, I mean, yes, it could manifest as crime sometimes, but it could also manifest as like, people who just have a really good idea to how to reform something.
I've been thinking about that. So let's say that we're the people setting up the society. Are we going to make it so that anyone can, take part in, setting up the rules for the society? Or are we going to keep it so that we're the only people, or maybe even that we're going to put these people in a foggish sense that they don't even know that they have, that there are people setting these rules or whatnot. Or even just that we're just setting such strict rules that these people don't even have free will anymore. Like what is going on here? Because if we're going to say that anyone can, like we give the power to anyone to bear the society, then the rules we set right now might just be gone in like a decade or so.
But what do you do in an ideal society? I mean, how would you want it if you think that this society is? I mean, that's what we are doing, right? We are putting the like principles in place. So how will we deal with this? Do we want people to act like machines in our society that reduce them to completely no free will at all, or do we want them to have their free will actually?
That's the thing
with all its associated problems.
With the idea I'd given with like it was just with jobs, but it can be applied to many things in the society. It's just that there will be so much less free will than whatever society we have right now.
It could be quite oppressive, right? Your system could be pretty oppressive.
I mean, the thing is, it depends on how oppressed the people feel. But with the way I'm living in society right now, if I were to think of living in that society, I'd feel like, oh wow, everything is being chosen for me. Like, okay, sure, maybe I'm giving a preference about what I want in life or what I want to do, but at the end, it's a lottery system, and there's someone else assigning tests and whatnot and creating job opportunity, and I'm just being placed in one of these things. Now, maybe if you're born into the society, you might not even question it, but like, because we're setting up the society, it's like, oh my God, like, where's all the free will, right?
Sorry, so you now feel that you have free will, but in this in the new system, you feel
in the suggestion that he has actually.
The thing is the concept of free will, right? Like, if the concept is the same as, let's say, what we have like right now, what I see is that it's a lot less free will than what we have currently, let's say. So, I mean, if that's an issue, I don't know if the society will work. So it's.
But I don't get why you don't have free
I'm
will.
confused why you think.
No,
but this is just the concept that I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a good chance to bring Kant up to speed on what has happened. Okay, I mean, it ties into your point, so don't worry. No, it feeds into your point actually. So basically, the thought experiment is. It comes from John Rawls, okay, which is like a American philosopher who thought of. I mean, he wrote a book called The Theory of Justice in I believe it's either 60s, 70s, or 80s or something like that, and in last century, and he has this thought experiment where we have this veil of ignorance where for like a group of people to decide what are the principles that that a new society can be built on that would give a fair society, presuming that fairness is what we all want. Okay, so. We actually have like already managed to unlock the principles that he has spoken of, because he actually has two principles. The second principle having two parts that will be like the under foundational principles of this society, and actually we have unlocked it already. So the first principle is about a package of equal rights for everyone. So be it like freedom of thought, freedom of movement, and human rights in general. And the second principle, the first part, which is the difference principle, being that the ones who are like more able, I mean, they will help whatever they do, so that inequality is basically accepted. But if for the first person to get like richer, the least advantaged must also benefit. So let's say the rich person gets like doubly rich. This least advantaged person should at least have like maybe like 10% richer, or at least a bit richer, so that he benefits basically. That this person, the poorer person benefits from the increasing inequality.
So it's a little bit the idea of like a social state, but like stronger.
Maybe like a distributive tax system is how one of the mechanisms. And then the second one is about equality of opportunity, where everyone has the opportunity to apply for like whatever offices. Of course, they may not get it because of their differing capabilities. But okay, so to go back to your point, right? Okay, basically, Erasmus had this idea of like having basically a random job. You're basically placed into your job, more or less. With some tweaks for allowing you to have some kind of selection, but generally you are being placed into your job. And
the society's needs.
Yeah, based on what is required. So we need like garbage men, we need like like doctors, we need like lawyers, but we also need like people who sweep the road or something, so like not so nice jobs are also in the same list, or at least among the list of jobs, because someone needs to do these things, right? But the thing is that actually, if you think about what the three, let's just call it three principles that John Rawls has, actually he doesn't have to impose, he doesn't actually say that, oh yeah, we need to impose such a thing, because it's like, so long as, let's say, even if people become like, okay, let's say doctors or something, and then they earn a lot more, but then the least advantage is also benefiting. So it's not like we have to force you into a job just to fulfill. We can let like things like just actually be kind of almost very close to our current system, except that like those who are like least advantaged, they would also get the benefits from those who are in more like elite jobs, let's say, like more favored jobs. Okay, let's say doctors get paid a lot, for example, because of their special skills and all that. But because of, let's say, a redistributive tax system, that those who are like the road sweepers, for example, will also benefit, because then they will also be given maybe like some money every month, so that their circumstances are, well, raised to like a good level, a decent level, let's say. That's kind of the premise of a redistributive tax system, right?
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
But like, wouldn't it lead to like people being super unhappy and super unfit in their job? Like, for example, there are like a shit ton of jobs where I know it's not even that I don't want to do them, it's more like that I would suck at them. Like, I would never, could never be like an elementary school teacher. I don't have the patience for that. I would probably at one point just say, do whatever and just leave me alone.
If the system is that
Yeah.
you're being forced
So
into this job.
The
Yeah,
question
yeah,
is
sure.
not if you, like, I mean, the idea is really nice, but also, like, for example, like a lot of, like, in our society, a lot of people, like, children of academics also go, like, into very similar job directions. So maybe to, like, give people the opportunity to change their job, like, once or twice. And, like in, that you have, like, a certain field that you, or, or maybe to say, you don't apply for a special job just for a certain field. You say, I don't know, but I think the basic idea of having people working in different fields for, like, a certain amount of time is very nice. But the problem is also, I mean, if you have someone become a doctor, it needs, like, I don't know, 10 years for the person to become a doctor, and then say, okay, nice, so you're a doctor now forever. But if someone else, like, if my idea would actually work and he would say, okay, you can change the job, then it's really hard to, like, have a new person come in.
It could be very inefficient as well, because there's a loss to the society. But anyway, I mean, so the idea that Erasmus had was well, one of the mechanisms that we could put into play, I mean, to try to keep the society fair. But actually, it's not with the idea of the principles. I mean, Rawls did not have such an idea that, oh yeah, we need to, like, force people into certain occupations or something like that, because he actually didn't have the idea. His idea was more like those who do well, then you will help the others, so that everybody gets raised up. So you could continue being a doctor, and then, with all the experience that you build, and then finally you make a lot of money, but your benefits also would raise the other fellas up, because we're gonna, like, somehow redistribute from you. So I think actually what we had done is to talk about some, like, almost like trying to think of, like, third principle 3, principle 4, which I think is actually a very interesting thing. Like what you were saying about how help me. you
Which one?
No, like, just quite recently.
The how do we treat the exceptions?
Treating the exceptions to this. Yeah, so I think to even consider some of these things, I think we are sort of adding, like, principle 3 and 4, and I think you're right that how we treat them actually will set the tone for our society as well. Because if, let's say, we just crush all mavericks, then that could be, I mean, actually quite retrogressive, I mean, quite regressive for our society. But if, let's say, if we don't punish all criminals, okay, let's say crimes arise for maybe not out of need, because we have already satisfied basic needs, but it arises out of just, like, people being bored or something, for example, and then they go burn something down just because they're bored. That somehow we also need to be part of justice is also to punish bad actions, right? It's not always just rewards. We also have to punish bad actions. I mean, do we think that this fits into our scheme, or should we just, I don't know, execute them, kill them, exile them? Like, I mean, or how will we build this punishment? I mean, what would be a just way to address this punishment? Because we do need a system of trying to correct, I mean, the non-desirable elements in our society, right? No matter.
Rehabilitation.
So you educate them.
Yeah, so yes, they do need to go, like, somewhere or whatever, but I mean, let's say prisoners or whatever, I find such a waste of time, space, and money. Because the people who come out, they'll be already disadvantaged. They will do the crime again, go back, khalas. At this point, they're, like, done even, like, trying or putting effort, because they're excluded from the society without the society actually noticing that they're excluding those people, instead of trying to really bring the best out of them, so then they can use up those kind of people. To me, honestly, it's you try. So the society's goal is to always try its best to make sure every single individual adds to the society, so then it keeps it moving. It adds to it and not take from it.
But what if some people cannot add, though? What if they are like handicapped, for example, so they may be unable to add this?
Oh sure, I mean, handicapped, and the society needs to also cater to them, as it not make life, like, harder, or make it tough, or like, oh, you're, I don't know, whatever, something you're unable to do or comprehend, then it doesn't make you, like, it doesn't take you 10 steps behind. We shouldn't build a society that's like that in general.
In my mind, I think about how, really what is a good life for a person is for him to be able to, him or her, for this person to be able to meet their potential, which means that if, let's say, this person, I mean, be it latent or manifest the potential that this person have to be a great dancer or great
And that's the
like
goal.
teacher or
That's
something.
the goal, to bring out the best.
Yeah, somehow I feel that will be
they can
a nice thing to add to this system or not system. I mean, these like ideas that John Rawls has as principles to somehow be able to also like bring out so that people can get to their full potential. So perhaps the system that Erasmus had earlier thought of about how we may put them into jobs.
Mm-hmm.
As in a very primitive society where we at first will need to make sure that all these jobs are done. Perhaps we may need that at the start where we are building such a society. But I mean, I think once we have reached a certain steady state of that society, then we can move beyond that to somehow try to raise everybody to their full potential. But I'm not quite sure how we would know a person's full potential, because even if we put them through a battery of tests, I mean, no test is so comprehensive. And I mean, just because today you don't have the level of a good badminton player doesn't mean that you can't learn to finally be a good badminton player, for example.
No, but
So it's...
That's why there's the reassessment, right? Like you could actually, let's say you don't get placed as a badminton player and you decide to, while doing something, you decide to play badminton for 4 or 5 years. And then you go for a reassessment or something and then you do get put. There is the opportunity to change into whatever you can work towards something else.
I think the most important thing in a society after education is also psychological support. And this goes to also the exceptions, like in criminals, for example, because, okay, maybe not prisons, but a retention center where they could get obligatory more psychological support and more education, like in more like specific subject, not like more education like the other citizens do not get enough education. I think a temporary detention center is not like a bad idea, but definitely not the prison that we all know now. In like the ideal situation of prison that actually provides these things
of rehabilitation.
And also in the for all the rest, of course, the citizens, to provide psychological support to find themselves and understand themselves, to know what their capabilities and what they can do and what they are actually passionate about, and guide them towards the right choices for them.
I think I have an idea about like what you said first and all. Like it's correct. Like I think it's really right what you say. And so I think the first point, what I really like is the idea, like I think they do it in Finland. They have like some islands, they're like really inaccessible, and they like keep prisoners on them. They can like freely range on there, but they're like restricted. I mean, they can't see their family, they can't leave the island. And what you also said is like a waste of money, and it's totally true. So what like sometimes is done, and like which I think is like one of the very nice things, if the people who work in prison, like they produce things. So like that you just say, okay, we're gonna lock you on this island for, I mean, there can be guards and whatever, and all the costs, like, they, like, more or less have to work for, like, just normally, and, like, the wage that I get is then, like, lower, so, and they can, like, collect it for when they get out, or buy, like, little extra things, but so that they have, like, a very basic life, and there you can also, like, bring in your idea of, like that you have, like, very strong, psychological, like, how do you say it, like, support, thanks, and, also, like, the idea of like rehabilitation, that you can say, okay, I don't know, you did like super well here and like you did everything you required, and then like, I don't know, we're gonna put you like on the next bigger island and stuff like that to like move your way back. And I think like people who like really misbehave, because I think there are some people that I think, how do you say that are like so like maybe psychological damaged or just have a bad character or whatever, that they just also don't want to fit in again. They can maybe just stay on the island for longer than like other people. So like maybe like not to say like, okay, you have like a fixed punishment, but to say like we have like very strong guidelines in which we say like how you're going, like are you fit to go back into society? I mean, that's also how I think the colonization of Australia began, that like they brought all the prisoners there. I mean, it's a nice idea.
The USA also started like that with slavery. Actually, they brought them there to do the hard jobs and
but I mean,
survive for
not
themselves.
definitely like hard jobs, but just like useful jobs. You know, like produce things or something, whatever. But just like the idea that they don't have to be like restricted in like a building, but just like put them on an island, for example. You know, the idea of it's like hard to flee from there, but like just not make their life miserable, so that they say, okay, I don't even really want to flee from here. I just want to have like, You know, I can work here, I can come out with money, just things like that.
Yeah, but although it sounds like a good idea because through like the labor, you have to actually cooperate with someone else just to survive, and so they, although we have like made the foundation, we have like the constructions that we have already built like the society. If you brought them like in a deserted island, then they have like to rethink their choices from scratch as they have to survive. They understand again how it is like to be without a home and without a job and all these things. But the thing is that without supervision in the island.
No, definitely with supervision. I totally agree. And I also don't mean like super basic with nothing. I mean like a normal island with like housing and everything. The island is just to make sure that they don't just leave, you know? That's the only main sense of the island. They just brought everything that they need, but like no accessories. Like for example, like no TV or like not your favorite food. Like, you know, just like basic things, you know? That's what I mean.
So they are entitled to also the basic rights of the first principle of John Rawls. And I think we generally, from the way you have spoken about it, is that you also think that these people deserve fairness, right? I mean, we want them also to be treated in a just and fair way, because otherwise it would harm the values of the society that we're trying to build.
Otherwise, sorry for Seneca to continue. Otherwise, if you treat them unfairly, then it's not only like destroying the whole system, but you're also like bringing the citizens back to their original state of like being an animal. Like kind of if you treat the other person, it's like bringing them in the same and worse position. If you're becoming the one like showing the finger, that you are being the judge and you're not like better than the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean I kind of agree with what's being said here, but like there's also, we've been looking at the punishment from the perspective from the person committing the crime, but we've not really addressed like how a punishment should also fulfill a purpose as a kind of repent for what this person did. I mean, if we would see the crime from a perspective from someone who suffers from the crime, like let's say someone kills someone and you're left behind without this person, like for example your mom got killed or your partner got killed or whatever. I mean, would it really be sufficient that this person goes through the island and goes through all these things that will also cost money, obviously, and goes through all these things to get better and stuff? Will you, as a family member or as a friend, will you think that's enough, that compensates what's been done?
This is very interesting because I think about this like I actually all my life really it's how would a person be actually treated for their crimes if the crimes are like so cruel that you cannot like just like continue with your life. It was like the one of the reasons, for example, that I did because I'm not sure yet. I did not support the not having police opinion of many people, like with education and psychological support that you can actually solve the problem at its core. And I will also answer with that to Seneca by saying that if you are seeking revenge, you have already lost the fairness of the system, because you are also continuing to be like in the animal state of wanting to harm the other people because they harmed you. There are crimes that of course are forgivable and that you may not even be able to forget them. But a person to commit to finally do the crime, there is a reason behind that. I do not think it's genetics. You have been born to do a crime.
Psychopaths.
They either are psychopaths, so they need psychological support, or they're uneducated and they don't know more, so they need to be educated. I mean, there is something there that can be fixed, and if they cannot be fixed, okay, they cannot be part of the society anymore. Maybe an isolation island or whatever. Like, just if you wanna be alone, but you cannot be just part of the society anymore. But singing revenge, it's actually getting your own hands bloody.
I mean, I was not really talking about revenge. I was more talking about about justice. It's not about that you want to like kill this person yourself or you want this person to be dead. But I don't feel like for me personally, if that would happen to someone that I really love, then for me it would not be sufficient that this person just goes to an island and just gets educated. I would also want that this person is punished and like a real punishment.
Yeah, but you want to hurt him.
It's a type of vengeance.
I don't want to hurt him.
But when the crime is so cruel, then your mind will not be at ease if the person won't harm the same. If we think about it like completely, like in our instinct, how it goes, it's like, okay, you raped them, you will be raped. For me, this is the only fairness that could be in an animal kingdom kind of thing. That you hurt me, you will be hurt in the same way.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Not in the same way. It's not that
they need
you
to
should
be punished,
kill.
not enjoying themselves or not getting what they.
Yeah,
it will not be the same though, guys.
What is the difference between like being 10 years in prison and being 10 years on the island with like the same standards?
No, but
the deprivation of liberty.
Prison still has to be a bad place. We cannot make it such a okay place.
This education, this needs to be financed, and the people who will be paying that.
They have to finance themselves. In our system, like everyone has a minimum of money, anyways, right? Like there's not possible.
Their basic needs are met.
Let's say that it's not possible that someone has zero money, and also they're like the idea is that they're going to work there, and like they're going to come up for like a part of the cost, and it's like. Right now,
no money.
But yeah, right, like that's not possible in our system, I guess. And also right now, it's the same with prisons. Like, do you know how much it costs to be in prison lifetime? It's super, super expensive.
Yeah, but all this psychological help and all this, I don't know what, this island will also cost a lot of money more than...
No, it actually costs more if they don't get treated right. It costs more if they go out
for the guards, and they go out and go back in. And
so you can actually treat them or decrease the amount of people that come back. So you make sure when they're out back in society, they're actually making up at least half of the money that got spent on them. You know what I mean? But if you don't bother to change anything, they will go out, they will be disadvantaged, they will come back.
I think the most important to stress here is that there will never be a punishment as equal as the harm that you have already has already been done.
Of course.
Whatever you give the other person, like in a prison or a worse than prison, a hell, it will never be the same as the hell you are going through because of this person.
But with that argument, you can also say we just do nothing, because it doesn't matter what punishment you give, it doesn't even change in the end.
If you believe that people do not repent for their crimes, but I do not.
I really believe that there are people who never repent for their crimes.
I think that's when psychological help helps. And that's also when you realize I did that because some fucked up thing in my brain wasn't working. When you when you look at things in a different way, that's when that kind of help.
And also, worst case scenario, they're just never part of the society anymore. For me, but I don't think that you will ever be able to make hell the same hell that you're going through to paradigmatize the other person and show them what you're going through.
I think we've already jumped my point, but I was trying to get to the point that it's not necessarily revenge that the person takes, but rather recompensation for their loss. It's maybe he might not get anything from revenge, and you could, as Hipparchia told, the only way to get revenge is, say, for a rape, a kill. Recompensation could be different. It doesn't necessarily have to be a rape for rape or a kill for kill, because the person who did lose something, he did lose a lot. Like, say it's my son or daughter who has lost, and maybe it cannot be returned. And it's not just that; it could be a lot of because you could have invested so much in your son or daughter.
So would you be okay to just take money back for your son's or your daughter's life?
I'm saying recompensation. I'm not saying money or anything.
Exactly, but what could be ever equal to your son's and their daughter's life?
Irrespective. I'm just saying it should be recompensation rather revenge. I mean, revenge doesn't make any sense. Revenge is pointless. What are you going to get from revenge? It should be recompensation. And maybe we have to figure out a way for recompensation. Sure, a son's life, you're not going to get another son. That's not recompensation. But maybe another way. We need to figure that out as a society.
I would say we need to stress the idea that the prison still, with all of those things that help the human become better, has to still be prison. It cannot be a place where, let's say I'm a bad person within, like, I am a bad person, nothing will change. You don't want the bad person to be like super duper comfortable, wasting your money or wasting the society's money and just enjoying themselves their time in prison because it's not so bad. I mean, it's okay, I can survive it.
Go ahead.
No, just that in my opinion, if in a system that takes all lives into account and all lives matter, there will be no life spent for no reason. So even if a great harm has been done to one person, this recompensation that Chanakia is mentioned is actually for a system to recognize this person, have like a huge memorial, like something at your the person's side that had just suffered's name, to show society what it's been like for this person. And it's for example, you get bullied, in this person's name, this person that matters to us, and actually use their names to build like a foundation or like a new department that is associating with bullying, for example, and actually show that this life matter. Whatever now happens to the person that harmed your beloved person, it will never be equal to the harm that has already been done. It's better to take the harm and do something good for me.
I think this.
No, but let's still keep this an abstract area, not like go for material facts. So we're just saying crime, person who the crime was committed against, recompensation. We need to figure I'm not saying there is
The details.
I'm not saying the details. Let's keep that abstract. Recompensation.
But I already answered the
recompensation. Does anyone of you know Kenneth Feinberg? He's a US lawyer who, like, after 9/11, like, we talk about compensation. It was like the question of how do you recompensate the people that died.
200,000 or something, right?
It's like, it depends, like, and so more or less, he, like, gives value to everyone's life. So it's about, like, your life expectancy, your job, your everything that's come together. And it's like after every disaster, like, an airplane crash, probably the airline is gonna hire him to figure out how much you have to pay everyone. Like, is that a fair compensation? Is it like, for example, like, yeah, let's keep with the example of like someone killed your mother. Like, would you feel better if the person for the rest of their life, every cent that they earn, except for like the absolute minimum they would pay to you until like they reached a certain point of whatever is like after a formula or after like a certain number is like the worth, like someone's life worth? Like, I really wonder, like, is there anything like material, like, except for the fact that you say, okay, I'm happy or I'm satisfied that this person cannot harm anyone anymore, or like I feel better because it was locked up. Like, is there anything that can ever, in material ways, recompensate?
Right.
Yeah,
like,
exactly what I'm saying. So it's
a question. I didn't get any. I'm just wondering.
It's actually an animal instinct to want to the other person to suffer, because if you're just like satisfied with the person not harming someone else, so you are like selflessly thinking of other people not passing through what you've been through, then just take them like somewhere to be mentally like healed and educationally healed. Then this is good, because you have isolated this person, you're trying to make them better people, and the rest of the society is safe. But this no, I want you to really hurt. This is an animal's instinct, and this is what will destroy actually society, when we behave like animals. And I'm closing with that, sorry. There is an episode in Black Mirror, I don't know, second season, I don't remember. It's called White Bear, I think. It was one of the best episodes I've ever seen
she was
in
in
my
a theme
life.
park, right? Then she forgets her memories every
She
night.
committed the crime, and everyone was there to punish her and show her how it is this crime, like repeating every day to her the crime she committed. But at the end is like the question, who is the worst in this position? Is it she? The person that committed the crime and now maybe repented or whatever, actually forgot and like suffer the rest of their lives, or the rest of the people there to make her suffer? And now, so I end with that. Seneca.
I mean, I get what you're trying to say, that there's, I mean, also what Shanakia said, there is no compensation that can, I mean, make the equation equal. So it's not about trying to make the equation equal. It's about making a statement. And I mean, I think for, I mean, if you wanted to implement all of that, like without the, like, I mean, what you're saying, like the island and everything, if you want to implement it in a society, it has to be supported by the majority of the society. And you said something about it's like in the animal kingdom, but I mean, humans are animals, and the fact that when something is taken from you, you want a compensation for that is a part of us. It's in all of us. I mean, the fact that you feel feelings of revenge is not something that we are proud of, but it's something that makes us human, you know. And I don't think you can just simply ban that out of our system and just not put it in society, because it's part of us. And I mean, everything that's part of us will also be implemented in that society. And I don't believe that, I mean, if that happens to your family and you can live with that, I mean, I really admire it. But for me, I could really not live with that. Like, if that's the only thing that would happen, I would have serious issues with that. With just knowing that this person is being re-educated, and I understand that, and I'm also happy that this person is really re-educated. But the fact that there is no other compensation is for me not enough. And I think a lot of people will also think like that. They will feel that there is not enough compensation, and when you have like a lot of people who think like that, then no one will support the system that you have, you know.
But I think that's when education and society comes and helps. That's when the people around you, that's not the natural behavior. So what you're describing now is how someone would react in this society. But the society we're talking about is more of a...
It's the idea.
I don't think you can ban that out. It's like what
No, I genuinely, I mean, you can't fully, but the society teaches you to have, what's it called? Is it empathy?
Yeah.
Towards people like that. You're mad, you're angry, all of those emotions are very natural, and there's no society that can eliminate that. But what it can eliminate is the fact that you try your best to understand that person wasn't fully comprehending what he was doing, and now he's in prison or whatever, and he's getting re-educated and all of those things. So then when he comes out, it wouldn't happen to someone else. So
there is no guarantee that it will never happen.
There's no guarantee, but I think the society and the education you'll get is what's gonna help you with that.
But there's no guarantee. Like what? So okay, maybe we should also put on the table the killing. Come on.
Revenge.
When you kill
execution.
And we can also bring to table executions just to be sure that this will never happen again.
Okay.
And also, like, last point, really, I'm sorry, stop talking for now.
No.
But the animal kingdom thing, and we are part of the animal kingdom. Okay, we are part of the animal kingdom, but when we are building a human society, we cannot afford to take that into account. But there is a term called human rights for a reason. We're not called like the superiors animal kingdoms rights or whatever. So yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Alright. I mean, you guys keep bringing up education again and again. I mean, what do you even mean by education? Like, what education?
Are we talking about brainwashing?
Yeah, exactly. Are you talking about brainwashing, or what kind of education? It's not like all criminals are not educated, right?
No, they're all educated.
Sure.
You're trying
No, but what do you mean by education? Like, go to school, go through your 12 years of schooling?
They're not all educated, the criminals, first of all.
No, in the new society.
Are all criminals not educated?
No, we're talking about the new society.
All criminals have a reason.
No, the lights are off.
All the criminals have a reason to commit the crimes. There is always like something that sparks this impulsion of doing a crime.
So.
No, but we're talking about the new society.
An impulsion, this impulsion of doing a crime.
Honestly, I think some people to whom that doesn't even apply.
But I mean, you were talking about we are building a society from scratch. We should not take that with us. But it's not something that we can leave behind like that. It's like if you would teach someone, educate someone to never be sad again. You can just, this is a feeling that comes up in you. You cannot.
Exactly.
Let me check.
But
the current system that we live in, are you okay with just the person going to prison? I can definitely tell you they're having the time of their lives in there.
So you mean a person that killed, like for example, a person that killed my mom and he goes to prison?
Raped, killed, whatever.
Goes to prison. Yeah.
You're okay with going to prison?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, okay. The current situation in prison is hell for specific people. There are people going there for tax evasion and being raped and killed in the prison, and people, rapists and killers, going there and be like the mafia leaders inside.
I mean, sure, but what's the alternative?
But
send them to an island?
But Hipparchia, that is not my problem. I mean, that's falls within the system. I mean, I'm talking about this system. This is how it works. We're
talking about the ideal system right now. So you're saying this system is faulty, and I'm saying that this is not the solution to our ideal system.
Okay,
we shouldn't be. That's my point. Is think of it as abstract ideas. I mean, that's what we're trying to build over here.
Okay, so not
Okay. So I was thinking, right? Okay,
but
so we.
If I could, one
yeah,
more
please,
point.
yeah.
I mean,
ahead.
the thing about the education and brainwashing. Again,
it's not brainwashing. You said brainwashing, but no one else said brainwashing.
Just go ahead.
It was actually Foucault who said brainwashing. Anyways, Seneca had told that
Foucault. Foucault. Foucault is French.
I was gargling water.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was drinking water, so I mispronounced.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I mean, if you're gonna the way that Seneca had told that there are certain primal instincts that we have within ourselves, and if you're gonna oppress that, and that is a part of education, then again, I can say it's against my human rights. The way that Hipparchia had ended her note on human rights, saying that there is something that exists that's called human rights.
Thank you for quoting human rights, and I'm gonna quote that the person that commits a crime doesn't have human rights, because you have human rights, but these human rights shouldn't violate someone else's human rights. He have violated yours. So you violated his. This is your opinion. This is like I strike once and I give you like a punch. So you punch him back, and then what? The war doesn't start. This you're satisfied by punching back, and you're both satisfied with you punching back, and no one starts a war. No one will go there save you from the fight, and there will not like strike a new one.
But we were talking about the. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not about punching back. It's not about doing the exact same thing to this person. It's about more than just re-educating this person. There should also be a punishment, because I don't think.
Yeah, but the punishment is they're gonna be in prison. We don't say they're gonna go for a year, everyone, and come out. 100% not. They'll be in prison depending on their whatever they did, but instead of them being in prison doing nothing and wasting our time, our money, we are trying to make sure when they come out they are useful and helpful to avoid them.
If you see the statistics of the people going to prison, there are actually a very huge number of people coming out of prison worse people than they got in.
A lot of people are affected by what is happening in prison, because the way they are treated or whatever.
But that's what it's now, right? So you're actually defending how it is now, then?
No, the exact opposite.
What is happening now is not useful for our society.
But how can you guarantee that like someone is going to...
No, you can't. You try your best, but you're...
Why in your system you guarantee that? You send them to prison or what? You guarantee what?
No, I don't guarantee anything. But all the psychological... stuff that you want to give it's not just, I mean, that has to be financed as well, and I really don't believe that people are willing to pay this much of money to reform criminals, murderers,
you know that right now you actually pay for the psychological and educational support of criminals, and no one gives a fuck about that, because they pay guards to go there and do what? Rape themselves the criminals inside the prisons, and then also be part of the mafia play by giving drugs and stuff.
Nothing is personal.
I'm not saying that
she's fine.
I'm not saying that it's free right now, but it's still way cheaper than if you would have an island resort.
But you keep saying about our psychological support and education, which is actually should be a part of the current prison, and it's not. It's not something that we just came up with. This should be applied in prisons.
The prisons that are built, Seneca, the prisons that are built are super expensive. If you just put like 2 houses on an island, it's way cheaper. You need less guards.
What do you mean 2 houses on an island?
Okay, the idea of the whole idea of my island was that you don't need walls of prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you just keep them there. So they need a place to sleep. So you do whatever where they sleep. That's why I said house. Maybe also something where they can go to the toilet, you know? But you need way less guards and just the whole construction. I mean, you do this once, like it's actually, I think it's not that much more expensive. Honestly not. I think like for like right now, like the amount of guards that are there is like would be reduced on these islands, and like these islands are reality like right now. It's like it's working. It is really
sure,
working.
but what you have now is they live in, I mean, a room like this maybe, and they get 1 hour free time that they can go out. If you have an island, then they can just sunbathe every day. I mean, that's not a punishment. That's just a.
But that's not the sense of.
No, but let me just summarize just a small. At least what I am thinking of prison or punishment or whatever. So someone commits a crime, the judge says you go 10 years in prison. So the old society, not the one we're trying to create, the person wouldn't do much important or interesting things. They'll do like, I don't know, they'll get like €0.50 whatever a day, or it's just useless, and they are taking place and they are gonna stay there for 10 years. So instead of only that happening, the whole 10 years is us as society, as the government, we're trying to make sure we can bring out the best out of those people. We cannot guarantee it, but it is way better than just locking them up. They are getting their punishment, but while they're getting their punishment, we need to understand also why did that person do that, because that person did that. It could be because something us as a society lacked of, which then affected another person, and that person, let's say you or whatever, you can later on affect the society by your negative feelings. You know what I mean? So then when we're trying to make sure the person gets what they need to come out as a better person, so then we avoid them going back, because most prisoners go back because no one really wants them on
I mean, yeah, I do understand all of that, and I mean,
and the island thing is not. I'm not 100% sold about that, because there's certain crimes and there's other crimes, right? I mean,
exactly.
there's women that go to prison because they cannot pay their debt, and then they're going to. They're not awful people.
There are people going to prison without a reason, and they are falsely accused, of course.
I mean, sure,
but again, that's a problem with the system. Why are you bringing that to me? I mean, that's a problem within the system.
There is a huge difference between having a prison just to lock up the animals and have a cage, and another thing to have a prison because you actually believe that people can repent. Because if you believe that people can repent, you have to show them the way of repent. Okay. I mean, take them away the psychological support and education, so you just lock up the animals and just let them eat each other up inside. Okay, it could work, but this is not the society I believe in.
Okay, let's have an admin break. Okay, so basically, right, we have now talked for like about 2 hours because we started about 10:30. It's 12:30.
Sorry.
No. That wasn't what I was gonna say. So I mean, okay. Basically, this how should we have a prison system? I mean, it's almost like a different Pitoc topic, right? It's like I mean, it's nice, it's very interesting, but no, that's not my point. No, that's not even my point. My point is like, okay, I mean, I don't know whether we should try to bring it to a close. Mm-hmm. So I mean, or whether you want to keep going, because I'm okay, but I mean, maybe if we want to bring it close, I thought. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, what?
No, okay, I thought you were going to say something.
No,
but
I do want to say something.
I want to say something, but it's not exactly related to that.
Yeah, change it.
Okay, so why don't why don't we do that? Why don't we do that?
To talk is like where it is started, when the point that Hipatia and Naval were saying, it started there. My point that I want to talk.
Yeah, okay, why don't we okay, so why don't we okay, so let's maybe wrap up in about half an hour, let's say. I mean, so it'll be 1 a.m. and let's switch gears a bit, because let's switch gears a bit, because I mean we are gonna get stuck on this, because it's a whole topic on itself. This how should justice be, I mean, the criminal system be, it's really a whole topic, And so let's go with your thing.
So-
and then let's go with that.
So the thing is that they started with the point that, okay, education, and they consider that, okay, we are like, we are not selfish and we are not selfless. So my point is completely different. It's like, I really think that we are so selfish, and in fact we are bad people in general. But the point is that when we have the proper incentives, we are not bad, we are good people, but only because we have the proper incentives. And it's like, for instance, now with the pandemic, I mean, we have many examples. For instance, now with the first lockdown, is like, I mean, a lot of countries were trying to buy the medical stuff. The people were dying, and the people, like the countries were like pirates. And it was now, and with all the technological progress, with everything. So when the things go bad, with the incentives are those kind of incentives, like we are really bad, and that is now. And also like even in Belgium, there is a rule. I think that now is 10 people, but the 10 people should be with a mask, and I don't know if also inside a place should be in that way. And most of the people don't respect this rule because they are selfish, because they don't think about the others. They know that people are dying, and they know that if they have a meeting with so many people without having masks, without respecting the measures, they are putting those other people with older and all that in risk. And probably it's like, the risk of disease is higher and all that. But the people don't really care. They only think about them, and they think only in the things about the things that they have in front of them. And I don't think that you can solve that with education. I think that that's inherent to the human being. And I think that even when you have like really nice things, when you have like the best system, we are gonna like hear the snake, and we're gonna eat the apple. So although education is really nice, sometimes it doesn't work. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's not enough.
So going off of what he's saying, and also something Zema you brought up about like education.
Hey.
Also, Chanakya
Respect
and
myself.
Foucault brought up about education and brainwashing. So what, and also like the prison system thing, in the sense that you guys were saying like, so for the betterment of society as a whole as well, like we need to enforce these measures. And Seneca was saying like, but people won't feel, at peace or fulfilled when the person who did them wrong is only going through so much, right? So what if in our society, right, we actually, now let's say education / brainwashing, we actually put an emphasis on making so that people are brought up with the idea that we should live life towards the betterment of society. So I'm not saying like we are completely brainwashed drones only being machines, but we actually have a stronger sense than, let's say, that we're living now, that we live towards, or we agree with choices that are for the betterment of society.
It really, I mean, we should not even put the word brainwashing on the table, because in my head, brainwashing is like Clockwork Orange. I don't know who has watched it, but it's like this exact situation.
But the thing is, education is, to an extent, there is a little bit of brainwashing there, right? Let's say in a country where it's very much science focused, right? And we are really working towards the betterment of the planet, right? So our goal is to improve, like make sure the planet is deteriorating way less, not as fast and whatnot. But maybe in another country where they're not taught as much, they try to focus on other things, right? So what if us as a society, we decide that our primary goal is the betterment of society, and this is what we teach everyone in a society. So whatever actions they take is for the betterment of society, and not as much for individualistic reasons.
To be advertised, you mean more, and be shown as the proper example, and this kind of things, like as brainwashing.
No, but in like really educating, like the emphasis in your education is that, if we better society, our own individual lives are also better. Like there's a very strong emphasis on this. To the point that I keep using the word brainwash, but to an extent, it really is more like brainwashing, because we're selectively making these people focus on something, right? So to the point that our individualistic or like needs are taking a little bit of a backseat over the societies.
Go ahead.
Choose yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Noel.
Okay, it was more towards John, because he mentioned John. He mentioned the what's it called? Okay, yeah, humans by nature are bad and stuff, and all of that I 100% agree. But that's exactly why I say education and society and all of those things are important. Is because it's very, very, very hard. It's not impossible, but it's very, very hard for you to be bad when everyone around you is good. There's a lot of examples, such as like in Asia, they wear the masks even when they're I can't remember which country, maybe China, I don't know, but they wear the mask when they're just sick, like normal sick, out of respect for other people. And there's no, at least I don't know, but there's no fine or any, like, you don't have to, but it is genuinely out of respect because it is in their society to do so. Again, with other Asian countries, them being over generous, it is because if I'm not generous, let's say even in my society, I'm very odd and different. And even now in the kitchen, you can also like realize the difference that you became, or at least what Volker have told me, that he felt the pressure of starting to share more his stuff or this or that and food because other people are. So that's why society and education really help tame the animal in us.
Yeah, for sure. But you know why? Because it's like you have the incentives. You know that if you don't wear the mask, the people are gonna see you bad, and and you don't want to yourself like seeing bad.
It all starts with something inside us that is afraid, and the animal instinct inside is not something that we deny. It's something that in order to build a society, though, we have to tame as a.
But you don't wear. But you know, in that case, you don't wear the mask because of the other people. You wear the mask because you don't want the other people to see you in a bad way.
But that necessary is not.
It is a deep down a selfish reason. It
For
is
sure.
deep down a selfish
For
reason.
sure, but the thing is that
that's not necessary. The reason. Some people would have that as their reason. I'm wearing the mask because other people. Some people, it will come natural. Like being generous
sure.
and all of this. It's natural.
When you create the habit and all that, for sure that it will come natural. But you cannot.
No, not even before habit. You don't know anything other than this. You know what I mean? When you're starting a society, and this is the only thing I know. The only thing I know is when I'm sick, I'm supposed to be careful. I'm not supposed to be around people. That's what this society has taught me. I don't know anything
So you want to
else.
inculcate these values
but in that case would be more probably is like with the, let's say, like the over the time is like the people have fun like without the mask. So one would start, and the people would follow him, like a religion or something like that. And the people, finally wouldn't care about that. And good thing only with about the people watching you, and if they watch you they see you in a bad way, you would wear the mask. So for sure, the surface can be a really good thing. You know, I mean, for that reason, capitalism works now. Because, okay, nobody wants to clean toilets, but you get paid. And probably you have children, and you have to feed your children, and for that reason you are cleaning toilets for, let's say, 1,000 euros. That is in Belgium is quite low, but you have incentives.
Yeah, but what the capitalistic system actually doesn't actually teach you is that you can also be selfish, but by helping other people, which is not a part of the capitalistic system right now. No. Because if you realize that you can be better by helping other people, then you just learn to live like in a community, help the others, but also help yourselves with that.
Maybe Seneca has something to add to this.
I wanted to come back on the education and brainwashing thing that you were saying. Like we were talking about like bad characteristics that we all have as human beings, like selfishness, not being selfless, being jealous or whatever, wanting revenge. And I think we were talking about education, that's so important, and brainwashing. But I think actually education should not be, education should not be about showing only one way, you know? I mean, because actually you're trying to, I mean, I think education should be objective and it should show you all the different paths. Like you see, this is selfishness and this is jealousy and this is feeling of revenge. And they should teach you just objectively about it rather than having a teacher who says, this is, you can never be that. Because when you're doing that, your teacher is actually filling in your path. And it's like creating your path instead of that you can create your own path. And I mean, I get that the repression of these emotions and repression of these feelings can be good for society in a whole. But when you're actually also, I mean, creating some, I mean, you're taking away parts of people's identity. You know, what makes us...
But that's why I was very careful of not using actually brainwashing. And when we're talking about education, I don't know what ideas go through everyone's mind when we're talking about education. We're not talking about teaching someone history or someone philosophy or someone like mathematics and chemistry and physics only.
You're talking about virtue training.
It's mostly, first of all, about the community being gathered and learn to work as a community. This is the basic thing. No one said that we will not teach, we will only teach like the good values, but showing what cooperation and like understanding and like empathy and the good feelings can actually promote to the community. This is actually the foundation of showing them the good way in an indirect way. Not actually like put them on books that, okay, like let's read now how you should be a good citizen.
You know, interestingly enough, this point that Hypatia, it's just such a difficult name, but it's actually due to another Greek person called Aristotle who talks about virtue.
We were talking about this yesterday.
And training your virtues, but by training he really mean like how you train a dog, by always, you know, repeating and then like emphasizing that, oh, this is the good way. It's a way to train the virtue.
Right. So you guys bring up really good points. The thing is, the society that we're trying to create is not exactly the same society as the one we have right now. And the thing, we are starting with people who are, I think we agree, we're starting with people who are essentially like don't have the strongest of memories, so we are starting them from scratch. So they're not exactly losing out on anything. We are giving them everything, so they're all gaining at the moment. It's not like they're losing out on certain characteristics of their person. They're not a person yet. Like we're filling up these people with information and things. And what I'm saying is that the information that we give them is whatever is, you know, required for the betterment of society. And I know I sound like a psychotic dictator and whatnot when I'm saying this, but my primary focus right now is for this society to exist.
You are.
And I feel like if we actually give, let's say, these people all the, let's say, freedom and introduce them to everything that's possible, like that we have available to us right now, is that a society that we're trying to create right now will not exist for long, because new ideas will come along and new things will be tried over and over, and this will keep on renewing every few years. And what I'm trying to do right now is start a society and try and maintain it.
But now we're talking about creating a society as if it were like robots we can program and say like, yeah, you be like this and you be like that. While actually humans have also negative things. It's not just, I mean, you can say, of course, like these human beings are really from scratch and they have nothing. But I mean, I think that's maybe a little bit too fictitious for this discussion. I mean, I'm not sure.
But there's no reason to deny the animal nature. That's what we're saying, is that by showing like a way of thinking and behaving, promoting it like in an indirect way, although you can decide not to follow, but still it is like kind of duty, society's duty to show this way. Because, for example, if we just let it to people biologically see what they can do, okay, then the male gender can realize they have the power, the muscle power to take control of women, as it happens right now. So why not actually show this through education, that this equality, and stress it out just to tame this perhaps feeling that some people will have.
I think
Yeah, I mean,
Noel
I'm sure.
also
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Noel
with you.
has been-
Noel,
Yeah, Noel.
please.
No,
Erasmus. No, I really like what you pointed out. I am completely against the repression. Like me as a human being, in my nature, and I think most people have this. If you tell me something that is forbidden, I wanna know more about the forbidden. You know, like something in me.
The forbidden tree, the forbidden fruit. Yeah.
The forbidden fruit, like that kind of thing. So actually,
You want to eat some pork, eh? Yeah. You wanna eat some bacon.
I think those two things I'm very happy to not have in my life. But anyway,
Noel wants some,
so-
come on.
actually showing like we cannot be jealous because this and that will be the effect on the society.
Yeah.
So actually explaining why, let's say, being jealous would lead to this. We're not saying don't be jealous. We're saying why.
Yeah,
exactly.
sure.
Because if we say
examples.
don't be jealous, then actually you cannot just say that. I cannot be like, oh, come with me, believe in this religion. Like, no, tell me why. What is
Sure.
all of those things. So brainwashing, not so much. Like, I would still call it educational, but
I mean, yeah, there's just a difference. There is just a difference in like.
no, I cannot just show the good side. I don't want to show only the good side. I want to explain why they need to be good human beings. I mean, of course, we're gonna do history, philosophy, but all of those things. But overall,
There
the
is no
education journey, educational journey needs to, at the end of the day, explain to those people, to those human beings coming up,
That's
why they need to act like that, and not the fact that they have to act like that. It's not like you have to be like this because otherwise you will not be accepted. No, tell me why. Tell me the consequences. Tell me, let me choose. Because if we tell them you only have this way to behave, actually, no, then the chaos and mess will happen again. Because now, I want to be, fuck the police, you know, like I want to be against the system or whatever. So it's not like that.
It's not against the system to have sex with the police.
I think that what Erasmus is trying to say, and I agree to that, is not because for me this is the indirect way of promoting the right thing, because you make people communicate and cooperate and show them what the good virtues can actually achieve in a society, but like more stressing out these consequences. That's what I understand from the brainwashing that Erasmus said that we have all argued against. That like not like just saying like a list of characteristics of do that, do this, do that. Like 1, 2, 3. But like show these consequences that now was said. But promote it even more, like stress it out, like not just
but
say
you
it
don't
once,
stress
say
it so
it like...
much. I don't think you need to. You really need to. I mean, you explain and everything, but it has to be that human, that person that's in your class learning from inside, wanting to act like that. Because if I tell you, you have to do that, it doesn't encourage me much. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it actually can be the opposite. The only way we can, let's say, do the brainwashing right is by making them themselves realize that any other behavior wouldn't be good.
You know,
I mean, the thing is, this also can just be very easily, manipulated, right?
right.
Yeah.
Like showing that, okay, so this is the right one and the wrong one, this will happen.
I mean,
Because there is no history, there is nothing else. We're just creating society. So once again, we are just...
History? What?
No, we are...
Mm.
These people don't know anything before. right?
Ah,
They're
okay,
all
okay,
new.
okay.
I think we will go completely out of it.
Right,
Because
right.
even like
It's
good,
super-
even
it's
like
super
what
fictional.
good virtues are, what morality
Exactly.
is, and all this kind of what human being
What is life?
But the thing
what
is,
life
okay,
is,
whether there's history or not, education and this brainwashing, it can be manipulated, right?
Yeah.
It can be manipulated to show like, okay, so society, this is good, and what might be against society, we can put a bad spin to it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like propaganda and
I
whatnot.
mean, that's why, we're trying to create the perfect society, right? So all of those things would need to be monitored, and the people that are doing those things need to be like highly qualified, and we need to make sure also they're highly paid for such jobs.
But still, I really believe, like Mill said, that even if you have like the best system and the best brainwashing or education or whatever, I still think there will be bad things like selfishness coming up.
But
at
not the
least in
majority,
one...
the opposite.
No. But the thing is, with stuff like that, you only need one person to ruin it for everyone.
Yeah.
For example, if one person starts stealing here in the kitchen, we will all remove our stuff out of the kitchen. That's just how it is. And I mean, I think Shanakia also said in the beginning that the mistakes that we make will always come up again. And I think that's, I mean, I'm not proud of that, and it's maybe a little bit pessimistic, but I think that's just the way life is, that people will, the same mistakes will come back and again and again. And
I think that's the natural way
that's
of
why,
things working.
No, but that's why you try different things. In the society, you try different things. You try to treat the situation in a different way. You don't treat it with,
No, of course.
I'll take the, the stuff away. No, I'll actually give that person a chance. It's like, oh, do you not have money? Let me help you. Like, yo, tell me anytime you want. Like that. Okay, I mean, I'm not a person personally with the biggest faith in humans. I think most people are assholes, but especially this person there.
Yeah.
But
it's like stupid ideology though.
What is?
To think that most humans are assholes.
Okay,
Okay,
sure,
let's not
sure.
go on a
No,
tangent.
no,
Let's
no.
not go on a
But
tangent.
what I mean
this
is
was really
we need to
debate
have.
a bit. This is a
Let's not
stupid
go on a
idea.
tangent.
What
Let's
I
not go
mean,
on a
what I
tangent.
mean from
Come
that
on,
is that we
so
need to have
respect
more
for the
faith
other's opinion.
in each other and humans. Because when let's say you did you wronged me, and I still have faith in you. I still believe whatever you did is. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be forgiven, but it's forgotten. It's done. It's over. But I'm not gonna punish you for this. I'm gonna treat you the same way I was treating you. I cannot punish you forever, because
No, sure.
actually, you know what? I think.
I think on that note, actually we should have done this at the start, but we didn't. So I think, we can stop at a note. But I think what we should do is that we should go in one round, and then we should say what our
Closing.
pen names are, and explain a bit why we chose those pen names, to represent our characters. Yeah, because these are like avatars. So okay. Maybe Erasmus can begin, and then we go in this direction. Then I'll
I
end.
chose Erasmus of Rotterdam because
What's his
I
full
have
name?
I
What's
have an
his full
affinity
name?
towards that city, and yes, I'm very proud of who he is and what he's done, even though I don't know what he's done.
He started a university, goddammit.
I'm not so sure that he started it, but okay.
So I chose John Stuart Mill because I really like his name John, and also he was a philosopher. He was a philosopher and an economist, and he got to really nice conclusions about economics and society. Yeah.
I chose Immanuel Kant because he's cool. And also, more or less, he brought the Enlightenment idea to life, which is like one of the basic cornerstones of our society today, and also very important part of the movement from Middle Ages to modern ages. So I think he's just a cool dude.
Is he physically cold? In the sense, does he need a sweater or something?
I've never met him personally, so maybe you can ask him yourself.
Chanakya.
Really bringing Chanakya's name to disgrace.
Chanakya is it's not English.
Go ahead. Seneca.
I chose Seneca because I remember reading some Latin texts of him in one of my last years of high school, and I read some text about him about nature and stuff, and I really was feeling the same vibe as he was giving, and I agreed on lots of stuff he said, and I really love Roman history as well, so that's why I chose him.
I mean, I chose Chanakya because he's a philosopher that lived in like 300 BC. That was almost during the Greek times, during the time of the Greek Enlightenment, and almost nobody knows about him. I mean, almost no one has heard about him. But then his ideas on like economics, philosophy, politics, and the way a society should be ruled, it's pretty profound, to be honest. And it's not studied at all. And I thought it was very interesting because he's not just a philosopher who has laid down the foundations for economics, politics, and so on in like 300 BCE in India, but he was also a war hero. He was also the general of a king. He's a very interesting person. I think he needs more PR to be done.
He got family in Spain.
I chose Nawasa Adawi because she recently just passed away, and she's one of I would call her an icon. She was a feminist activist writer from Egypt, and she fought a lot of ideologies. And one of my favorite quotes is, "I speak the truth, and the truth is savage and dangerous." And I love that for her. And yeah, she passed away.
Okay, and I chose Hipparchia of Maronia. She also lived in 500 BC.
Google search.
And this was a Google search. That is the truth. But what I found most interesting about her is that she's a Greek philosopher. She was living in Athens. What I found most interesting about her is that she was considered like one of the first feminists of her time, because she was living like a very anti-Semitic life. She chose to get away from the rich life that her parents chose for her, and she married a guy that she was really attracted to, although her parents didn't agree, and they were just lived in full poverty in the streets, and she was even got rid of her female clothes and bought male clothes, and they were living freely in the streets, and I read this really inspired me.
I am the philosophical bachelor, and today my pen name is Michel Foucault. And surprisingly, we actually came to some concepts of discipline and punish in Foucault, where we talked about the prison system and how our disciplinary methods have evolved over time. But that really wasn't the aim. I chose it just because it was a cool sounding name. But today's topic was on how we would build a society and whether or not we would come to the same conclusion as John Rawls. And surprisingly, we managed to unlock all three levels of his principles for a just society. So I must admit that John Rawls was actually quite successful in intuiting the correct principles for our society, because just in a random bunch of students that comes from a spectrum of faculties such as law, medicine, engineering, marketing, economics, and a spectrum of disciplines, that we actually managed to, just with our layman intuitions, arrive at the same principles that John Rawls came up with. So we must conclude that John Rawls actually was successful in his theory of justice. Thank you.